These schools are doing incredible work. Their curricula go far beyond basic language instruction, focusing on literacy, critical thinking, and identity development. Students engage, for example, in a project-based learning that's culturally meaningful, and they are assessed through portfolios, bilingual presentations, and reflective writing. And these schools also work closely with families, recognizing that language development doesn't just happen in the classroom. It happens at home and in the community. So all of these efforts help students build the kind of proficiency that deserves formal recognition. But of course, there are still challenges. Despite all this great work, there are barriers to official recognition. Most standardized tests don't reflect the unique profiles of heritage language learners, especially those with strong oral skills but uneven literacy. Many states lack clear policies for recognizing heritage language proficiency developed outside formal schooling. And there are also limited awareness among educators and administrators about differences between heritage language learners and foreign language learners, which can lead to misplacement or under-recognition. And finally, community-based heritage language schools, often operate with limited resources, making it difficult to advocate for their students at the policy level. So to wrap up, recognizing heritage language proficiency is not just about fairness, it's about justice. Our heritage language learners deserve to have their skills acknowledged, celebrated, and rewarded. Community-based heritage language schools are leading the way, but they can't do it alone. We need systematic change, policy support, and a shared commitment to honoring the linguistic and cultural assets our students bring. And that's exactly what today's panel will highlight. Heritage Language School and program representatives will share the efforts being made at the school and the program level, and a representative from a state level will introduce broader initiatives and advocacy efforts. I hope their stories and insight will inspire us all to think about how we can support and expand recognition for heritage language learners. So now, I would like to introduce our panelists who are doing incredible work in helping students receive official recognitions for their heritage language proficiency. First panelist is Mamta Tripathi. Mamta is a co-founder and principal and a lead instructor of Hindi Language Academy. And the second panelist is Yasuko Moyer, who is former director of Princeton Community Japanese Language Schools. And the third presenters, actually there are two presenters, Bala Ramasamy. Bala is the director of Minnesota Tamil School, and Siva Mariyappan, who is course director of Minnesota Tamil School and the secretary of the American Tamil Teachers Association. And the fourth panelist is Lisa Harris. Lisa is coordinator of World Languages and International Education of Virginia Department of Education. And the last panelist, Linda Egnatz. Linda is an executive director of Global Seal of Biliteracy. And Linda will make closing comments. And after this panel presentation, there will be 25-minute question and answer. And those who are participating online, please post your questions or comment in the chat section. So please welcome our first panelist, Mamta Tripathi. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm really thankful to Joy and the coalition for giving me this opportunity. We have been wanting to come here and share our success stories, mainly because even though we are a language school, we are completely online. Completely means almost 90%. We do try to have some in-person cultural immersion events, but most of the learning and teaching happens in an online mode. So we wanted to do that. So about myself, I've been teaching Hindi in community-based heritage language school setting for last 17 years. Started with teaching at a corner in a temple and slowly advanced. I got trained through Start Talk with the pedagogy that is very much needed for community-based schools. And then because of COVID, during COVID, we switched to online, and the effect of learning online was as good as it was in person. So our parents requested, please keep it online. Our children are happy. They are learning. They are engaged. These are the three reasons they gave us, everyone. So we stayed online. After pandemic, we didn't go in person. And another good thing that happened because of that is we were able to continue enrolling students from other states where they didn't have Hindi schools. So that was also a plus thing. So let me start our introduction with our school. Like, our, this is the. So like I said, we are completely online. And we started with 30 students and 6 staff, and today we have about 100 students and 15 staff members. Um, So from 3 classes, we went to 9 classes. And of these 9 classes, 2 are completely high school kids. So what used to happen in my own experience in other heritage language schools was as soon as the students got to 7th and 8th grade, they started dropping. They didn't want to continue. So, but because of the Seal of Biliteracy, the academic part of it, so they are now enjoying, they have enrolled. And just like many heritage language schools, our school is also 90 minutes per week. That is a minimum as per research, so we are able to manage that. But there's a lot happening in that 90 minutes depending on the age group. So we have rhyme, songs, of course, language exploration part, hands-on activities, which could be yoga, cooking, arts, craft. So we incorporate all that. So as of now, like from 2019 to now, we have had 15 students who have achieved Seal of Biliteracy. And our curriculum is defined by the ACTFEL roadmap, so which makes the program more engaging for the students. And we administer standardized tests for the Seal of Biliteracy, so we primarily use AVANT assessment. STAMP 4S. And all our staff is trained in pedagogy by New York University Teacher Training Institute. So that gives us a very solid foundation. Now I want to speak about the non-profit under which we operate. I'm very happy that the president of Educator Society for Heritage of India, Mr. Arun Sharma, is here with us. And another colleague of mine, Ms. Rubina Nagarkatti, is also here. She is a very strong member of the instructional team. She also teaches Hindi at Boston University. So that university community connection, we have a very strong one. So the mission of Isha was to there were a lot of issues with how India, Indian history, Indian culture was represented, is being represented in the social studies textbook. So Isha, the Educator Society for Heritage of India, really wanted to work on that. So that's the primary work, and also develop materials that the schools could use. So we have been running schools since 2008. Yeah. Since 2003, I'm sorry. So, and we have also conducted Start Talk Camp for 10 years. So that has given us a lot of guidance how to continue teaching. And Isha has also developed like 30 high quality videos through a grant for intermediate and advanced level. So now I will be cruising through my slides, 3 seconds per slide. So this was in person. So then COVID happened, we still wanted to meet. Picnicking, using things, and the in-person part of our school now, which is like 10%, I could say, completely online classes, learning folk art during the classes. Another kind of folk art which uses sticks and shapes. So that, and kids make sweets during festivals, we celebrate. The good part of doing online is you can manage to do that because they're doing everything at home, so they can cook along with you. Talent shows, even though they might be playing instruments, they are learning here, but the music is Indian, so they bring in that. And yes, and then they make things and present, like the kite, they will sing a rhyme about kite. And this is poetic assembly. So all of them learn classical poetries, different ones, all of them. So they presented, using their knowledge of Hindi to write Mother's Day card. And they travel on T-shirts. More celebration, artwork, flashcards, cooking. These empanadas, they look like, but they are Diwali sweets. And, and more hands-on learning. So this is how we set up, and see the smiles, they speak for themselves. So it's not just Hindi, they say Miss, we, like Mamta ji in our culture, like we add G to add respect. So Mamta ji, we are also learning to cook. And like team building is important, so we try to meet, and although if you're online, you hardly get to see each other, so that is important. Training, this one I want to say, we tell the kids, oh, you can do online, you can learn, practice, present. So we wanted to walk the talk. So we teachers also did the same. And this is in-person event again. More in-person. Sports. And we also participate in community events if there is an event happening. So we go and represent and spread the word. And this is celebrating Hindi Day at the Indian Consulate in New York. So we always go there. So students also, like, they keep their talents, showing us their talents. And the other side, they want to talk about what makes them proud of India. So they do those kind of presentations. So the Shark Tank, the bullet train, and the spices and Ayurveda, they pick their own topics and they want to research and present. What's an online school without educational technology tools? So that is very important. Jeopardy and all others, Bingo and Bluekit and GameKit, we use all those. And another important part is, like, we invite guest speakers to connect with the community. Also, like, most of our speakers, she's a doctor, of course, and the rest of them are professors at different university. Every year we invite them so that they can motivate the families. So we do that. This we all know. It's Linda's part, but I stole it. So what I wanted to show here is, in the beginning, yes, the level was mostly at functional level, but eventually they started getting better. And now you can see all the blues. That means they're in advanced level. So this is the STAM test reports. Thank you. And from functional, they got to working fluency. And we try to celebrate their achievement in person. So yeah, more in-person celebration. And can you go back one slide? So on the right side, I want to show you the student was awarded State Seal of Biliteracy at the school. So the parent invited me, so I went there to celebrate that as well. So the main part, like, so we saw that, yes, everything is great, working. Students are learning, proficiency is increasing, yet there are challenges because as of now, even though student is ready for the seal at 8th grade, 9th grade, they cannot take the test. Means the schools will not accept it. They do take the stamp test, we do administer as an assessment, but only seniors. And in some school, juniors are allowed. And also, the good thing is universities are accepting the global seal achievement now because event assessment is a very credible test, easy to administer. It's very easy to work with them and arrange. That's my last slide. So no, I will need that. The previous one. Sorry. So what are the challenges? So the challenges are testing at public schools. Not all public schools allow our students to take the test there, and especially the magnet schools, the high-tech schools, the vocational technical schools, they just don't have the setup. So, and if testing at a public school, in the report, the public school gets their name. We are nowhere. So that's a challenge. We have to work on that because the students come to us. We are teaching them. It should be, we should get the credit too. And another thing is reports are valid only for 1 year. Like I said, if my 8th grader is ready for the seal and they have it, but the school will not accept it. And last thing, another thing that we have to work on is getting world language credits for our students. So this is my presentation. I hope I was in time. And Masako, I hope I did just as I promised you. In spite of my 43 slides, I finished in 10 minutes.
Thank you, Mamta. I really appreciate your effort. And then I got your clear message in your presentation, so that'd be great. So next panelist is Yasuko Moyer from Princeton Community Japanese Language School.
Okay, thank you. Hi, okay. Hello, I'm Yasuko Moyer from Princeton Community Japanese Language School in Princeton, New Jersey. I'm very honored to be here, and I'm excited to share with you what we do at our school to get students ready for certification, but also share with you the difficulties we face, and maybe some of the sort of the backstage work that we have to do to get there. So just a very quick, very quick, like Shinkansen bullet train version of our school in a nutshell. Princeton Community Japanese Language School was founded actually in 1983. And originally it was meant to be for Japanese families who are staying in the United States for not as a permanent resident, but just on a temporary basis, maybe a few years, 5 years. And we are certified by the Japanese Ministry of Education, and so that they can go back to Japan and go right back into the Japanese education system. That was part of the original purpose. The other track that we also did have was the Japanese as a foreign language, JFL track. Anyway, we meet on Sundays, 45 minutes, 45-minute periods, 40 weeks a year. Now, the Japanese the heritage language course was added to this in 2004 as the third course, the third track at our school. So just to give you an idea, the school as a whole, we have about 220 students this year. And in the heritage language, and we have anywhere usually between 40 and 50 students. And then there's the kindergarten, there's the other high school, the other division high school, and there's a community school for adults as well, and the JFL, the foreign language. So the students that we have are mostly orally proficient in Japanese in their age-appropriate levels. And most families in our heritage class have at least one parent from Japan, well, actually one parent who are from Japan who are native speakers of Japanese, but the students themselves were all born in the United States. just very quickly, so our goal is actually to develop bilingual skills and emphasis on literacy, biliteracy, because the students do come in pretty speaking two languages. And of course, to make connections between cultures. And this is what Masako said in the beginning, which is we emphasize critical thinking and making connections and all that. And the curriculum is all conducted in Japanese. But then in later years, in higher grades, we do a lot of translanguaging. We take that approach as well. We do one period of kanji, which is the characters every week, another period for interpretive, reading, writing, and discussion, then another period for specifically for culture and history, and with project-based learning as well. So our materials, we start with the ministry-approved age-level textbooks, and in middle and high school, we add other types of texts or newspapers. And the JFL text, the foreign language, Japanese as a foreign language textbooks we use are college level, intermediate, and above. So that's what we use for our middle high school students. And of course, we have outside class activities, not within the course, but also with the school-wide events we participate in. And for example, sports day we just had, and the essay and project presentations, we do that with the Japanese as a native school, end of the Japanese as a native language, end of the school. Now, I've been teaching at the school for 20 years and probably 15 with the heritage language course. And so by the time they come into high school, most of them are quite comfortable expressing their own ideas in Japanese and are able to make connections about what they learned at Japanese school and what they learn at American schools, because we feel that bridging that is very important to bring relevancy to the students. My class is diverse, always diverse. And I would say in terms of actual proficiency levels, they're about at intermediate or advanced low level. And so we preparing for certification, which is what I wanted to get to. Once they are in middle and high school grades, we start talking to the parents and students about AP Japanese exam. And also we started more recently to talk about the Global Seal of Biliteracy. But as I mentioned earlier, most of the families have one parent who is from Japan, who hasn't gone through the American education system. So we need to begin by explaining first what an AP exam is and what that means. And then how qualifying AP scores would enable students to obtain the Global Seal of Biliteracy. Now, we don't have a class titled AP Japanese Prep per se in part of our curriculum, but we do, that's because we feel that the students are adequately prepared through our curriculum. But we do offer optional online sessions outside the curriculum for just maybe a couple of months in the winter so that students can familiarize themselves with the format of the exam. In any case, with or without the prep sessions, most students attain a good score of 5 by the end of 11th grade, and some of them attain that in grade 9 or 10. So it sounds easy, but that's because the students are proficient, but there are roadblocks. First of all, we are a weekend school, so obviously we can't administer the AP Japanese exam. We lease a building from a university, and the students must register via the local high schools. Well, in Princeton or in Central Jersey, or sometimes if students come from Pennsylvania, there are not that many schools that teach AP Japanese. So the students have to ask the local schools to order the AP Japanese exam. Now, this sounds easy. However, many parents, it's actually not very easy for these parents to ask their schools to do this. And unfortunately, some parents, or actually more than some parents, they've been told that it's not possible for them to take the AP Japanese test at the local high schools for one reason or another. So in order to facilitate the request, our teachers created a template that parents can use to make such a request to their local schools. Well, with a description of our school and a verification of the student enrollment in our school. And hopefully, this will enable more students to register for the exam. Because in the past, our students have had to go to New York, which is a good an hour and a half or 2 hours away, because that school would let our students take the AP exam there. Now, as Mamta mentioned, there are some schools that offer other qualifying standardized tests, such as the Avanta stamp test. And now, some schools in the New Jersey area yet do offer that as well. But then there are schools that actually do not do anything. So in that case, when you can't take it at any school, of course, stamp testing is possible on an individual basis at home. So we've had students go that route. Okay, so now we have the scores. Next, please. Okay, so yes, I think that's good. Yeah. So now we have the scores, and so we have the scores. So our school contacts the GSB, or the Global Seal of Biliteracy GSB office. They verify the scores and send the certificates to us. As you know, it's, as Mamta's slides show, it's a numbered certificate with the student's name, and it has our school's name on it as the awarding school. We have awarded the certificate to the students. Usually we do this on the graduation day, which is in March in Japan, in Japanese schools. So our heritage students get to graduate with 2 diplomas with 2 diplomas, like a diploma from Japanese school and from the Global Seal. So it's a great motivation for younger students. However, there is, next please. However, you submit the scores and it sounds easy, but, well, not quite, because when I first tried to submit the scores, I found out that the local schools own the scores because the exam was taken there. So we needed to have the permission from the local schools to use the scores. In addition, we can't use the score reports that the students send us. The schools must send us the scores. So, it's not easy, as I said, for foreign-born parents to make such a request to the school. So then they tell their children, okay, go ask the school. And then the kids ask at the school, but sometimes it doesn't really go anywhere. Therefore, it was actually our moderator, Masako, she suggested, Professor Douglas suggested, and also with our current course director, Mrs. Fleming, who's here, right over there, we have devised another template that the parents can use to submit to the schools to make that request. And again, this time we explain what GSB is, and who we are as a school. But still, some schools, can you go back? Sorry. So still, we have some problems. The schools have said, some schools have said, no, we're not sharing. But it seems to me that at least last year, there was some confusion about the state seal of biliteracy and the global seal of biliteracy, because maybe some of the local schools were not familiar with the state or the global seals. And so that is also related to another timing issue, which I think Mamta mentioned. The scores that the students have are only valid for 1 year. And so we have students who scored a 5 on their AP in their sophomore year, but as a sophomore, then you need a qualifying exam for the English proficiency. But if you're in 10th grade and you haven't taken it, an SAT yet, how do you prove your English proficiency? Now, hopefully, Linda will be able to help us on that. But so we've run into sort of difficulties on that end as well. Because of the timing, we've had students who unfortunately with a great score, good score, were not able to get the GSB. I have one student this year who's a senior. She scored actually a 5 in her sophomore year in AP, and she really wanted to get the GSB. So then over the summer, she took the stamp test on her own at home. and of course attained a qualifying score for the working fluency. However, in this case, our school name will not be on it, as I understand, because she took the test at home. And that's what I was told anyway, so then, because she'll be submitting her score on her own to GSB. And it's too bad that our school is not recognized, even though she's been with us for over 6 years. And she did say to me, without being that Japanese school, PCJLS, she would not have been able to continue. So I think I'm out of time. I just wanted to, in sum, I wanted to say that we support bilingual and multicultural growth and to prepare students for to be biliterate and to share, to have multicultural views. And of course, as everybody says, certification is very, very important. AP or GSB, they provide recognition outside the school, within the American or wider world, for recognition and motivation. But I do think that clear pathways are needed for heritage schools like us to submit or to have the scores and receive recognition. And so I would like to work on, continue to work together to have it more, to facilitate the process so that we can all share and celebrate our student accomplishments. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Yasuko Moyer sensei. I really appreciate you clearly listed, like Mamta, the shared challenges with both, community heritage language schools have. So third presentation, the panelists, there are two panelists, Bala and Siva, and they are online.
Thank you, Masako. Vanakkam, good evening, everyone. This is Bala Ramasamy. I'm the director of MNTS Tamil School, and I have Siva Mariyappan, who's the course director of MNTS Tamil School, and he's also the secretary of American Tamil Teachers Association. We just want to share our, we're definitely excited to be here in this session, and we wanted to share our journey towards how we got initial bilingual and where we are and what are our future thoughts. Next slide, please. So keep going, yeah. Next slide. Okay, this is the one slide which exemplifies what we have achieved over the years, and definitely we are proud of this slide. This is like we have 76 students who have achieved a bilingual seal over the period of 9 years. And we're proud that MNTS Tamil School was able to guide them towards this achievement. And you can see the a graph here, which shows the count gradually growing from 2016, started with 2 students, and last year it was 17 students. And this year we are preparing like 20 students to take the bilingual seal assessment. So this is clearly shows how we have progressed and what we have created a sustainable and scalable model, which we are using it over years, and it has been excellently working. Next slide, please. So who we are, MNTS Tamil School or Minnesota Tamil School, however you want to call. We are a 501c nonprofit organization, educational organization. As others said, this is we are also a community-based volunteer-run organization, completely started with few parents who have passion for the language, and then eventually got developed into a bigger organization now. So we are very specific about our process and procedures. So we wanted to make sure this is vetted out by an external organization. So we brought in Advanced at that point of time in 2014 to validate our process. We got accredited in 2014, even though we are a weekend language school. We were able to get that accreditation with all the standards and process and procedures, and we are still maintaining that. And we also, as we know, being a educational organization and being a heritage language teacher, it is not easy to bring in any teacher or anyone to just come and teach the language. We need to bring the teachers up to speed on why and how it needs to be taught. So we have over the years built a internal training with working with few professors, and we have a training developed, so every teacher go through that training, and then we keep doing that every year and keep improving on those trainings. So and on the accreditation, again, we are an accredited institution, and then we got re-audited during 2023-24, and then we got certified again for the school as well. What we did is, again, over the year, we have created a syllabus which is in alignment with ACTFL, which Siva is going to talk in detail about it. But we wanted to share that knowledge to the schools outside Minnesota. So we created a open syllabus, and that, as of today, it's at least being used by 25 schools across USA. And we got accredited for not just the school, we are also accredited as an MNTS educational services. So that's another big thing that we did. And we also have a scholarship endowment developed, endowment bill for the students. So what do we do with this endowment? This is for the scholarship provided for any student who take bilingual assessment and who get the bilingual skills and who prove their proficiency. And based on their proficiency, they get their scholarship. So 1,200 for their platinum seal, 1,000 for their gold, and 800 for the students who get certificates. So we're doing for our students, and then as a step, we are also extending to outside students as well. So looking through all these achievements, like a full cycle, and as we said on the scholarship, one additional thing I missed is like we also get a soft pledge from the students that once they settle down and once they get a job, they will come back and serve the community wherever they are in, right? So that's a soft pledge we get from the students. So looking through this full cycle, MCTLC, which is Minnesota Council on the Teaching of Language and Culture, they got impressed with this, and they voluntarily provided us the ProLingua award for all the effort that we are doing towards the language and culture. Next slide, please. And this is our story. I can go in detail for 15, 20 minutes, but we don't have time, so I will quickly rush up on some of the key points that I wanted to cover through this. So again, as any other heritage school, we started off with 12 students. Siva is our founder director who is there on the call. And we started off with 12 students, and we gradually evolved over the years. 2012, we had 180 students, and that's when we started using our educational tools for managing students and assessments and things like that. And that's when we thought of standardizing the process, and we brought in the accreditation process. And 2014 is the key year where we got the accreditation. And by 2018, we grow into 300 students. And that's when we started aligning our syllabus to ICTFL standards and creating syllabus towards that. And in 2022 is again another key year where student count gradually grew, and we were 380 students, and we are now having 3 branches, one in Eden Prairie, Woodbury, and we also have a virtual branch around 50 to 60 students every year. And then to just serve not just the Minnesota students, but also students outside Minnesota. And then 2023, 24, as I said earlier, we got accredited again, and we also have the educational services on our loop. And as of today, we have 400 students, and we are definitely proud we have created a sustainable model. Next slide, please. So this is, few snapshots of our volunteers. Again, it's totally volunteer-run organization. The top, we do our annual day. The top slide is our volunteers, snapshot of our volunteers. And then the bottom one is our students who got prizes for all the competitions we conduct throughout the year. So we do all this literary competition, essay, speech, and spelling bee competitions throughout the year. And who are getting prizes on those competitions get facilitated in this annual day event. Next slide, please. And this is another event we do, like the school carnival. This is during our Mother Language Day celebration on February 21st. We do that. I mean, we have been doing that continuously for almost 13 years now. So, and again, this is where students build a project related to Tamil culture and tradition, and they present it to the whole team, and based on which we rate and we recognize the case. Next slide, please. And in summer, what we do is we do conduct spoken Tamil art and culture youth immersion camp. This is like a 2-day camp where we have like students in different levels. We also bring in different artists from India who teach them like different instruments, cultures, and art. So it's a 2-day exciting event that we conduct for the kids. Next, please. And then from here on, Siva will take on sharing our experience towards, what we did with respect to the curriculum from where we started and where we are today. Next slide, please.
Yeah, thanks, Bala. Hello, everyone. For the want of time, I will go quickly, but I want to pick up many slides. So, my name is Siva Mariyappan. Vanakkam. That's welcome in my native language. 2008, we started the school. We started with a different state with different syllabuses, and then we have later. So, in 2016, the first time ever, 2 of our students got the bilingual seal in the state of Minnesota. Actually, in fact, in the entire U.S. This created the opportunity and a necessity to start building syllabus based on the ACTFL proficiency levels with the LSRW skills and 3 modes of communication. So until then, our syllabus just focused on writing mostly and some reading skills. Even today, more than 90% of the heritage schools in the U.S. follow a syllabus mostly with writing or reading. The MN Department of Education funded the project to develop assessments for Tamil and 3 other less commonly taught languages like Somali, Hmong, and Karen during 2017. This major effort by MD helped us a lot. We are forever thankful for them, especially Ursula Lenz and Ayume Stockman. Thus far, we have built 3 full assessments for MDE, which helps each Tamil student in MN to earn the bilingual seal. In fact, only MDE has all 4 LSRW skill assessments for Tamil anywhere in the world, aligning with the ACTFL proficiency guidelines. Next slide, please. So yeah, I think to start with, we want to kind of extend the effort beyond Minnesota. So we formed the American Tamil Teacher Association, and then we have the language got approved. Okay, yeah, yeah. Masako, you can continue, I think. Yeah. So thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry, Siva, to cut you in, but the time's up, and then they presented a lot of rich information, and all are available in the PDF, which will be shared all with the attendants. So please look at the Danielle's message in the chat section. There is a link to the PDF. Thank you so much, Bala and Siva. So the 4th presenter is Lisa Harris. Lisa is a state representative of Virginia Department of Education. So I handed this to Lisa.
Hey, everyone. Is the mic still on? Okay. All right. So we have heard a lot about what individual schools are doing, and I wanted to sort of bring a perspective from the state level, how we work with individual schools and also how we provide support to those schools. Some of what I share will be from the perspective of my role with the Virginia Department of Education, and some will be from a national perspective of conversations with colleagues of mine who have the same role across the country from our organization, which is called NACESFL, the National Council of State Supervisors for Languages. Part of what I want to make sure we do is share that our heritage language school programs are part of the broader landscape of the world language education field in each of our states, and that awarding seals of biliteracy, whether it be the state seal of biliteracy or the global seal of biliteracy, is just one of the pathways that we can make available for our heritage language learners to be able to have their language proficiency recognized. And hopefully some of what we share today and what you've seen already are actions that you can replicate and take back to your individual contexts so that we can find better ways and more pathways for students to move into university programs, to be able to award seals of biliteracy, and to recognize the language proficiency that our students earn. So our organization, the National Council of State Supervisors for Languages, has representatives in each of the states that you see highlighted on the map. So the blue states are the ones where you have somebody in the State Department of Education with my role, or who at least is responsible for the oversight of world languages, although it may be in combination with other roles. And then the other categories that you see show where we have a member who may not necessarily have my position, but who represents your state at our organization. And if you are interested in reaching out, you can go to our website, which is just necessful.org, and you can see the spell out of the acronym up there. And you can look up who the representative is for your state so that you can connect with them. And once I share the information with you about what the states can do to help in your work, hopefully that will encourage you with a reason to reach out to your Necessful member and to start that collaboration. So the role that we have is beyond just supporting world languages in public schools. We're also responsible for acting as that liaison between all of the contexts where world language education takes place. That includes within our private and independent schools, our Saturday schools, our heritage language schools, our community college system, and anywhere else that we can support language learning outcomes for students, whether they are native speakers of English, learning the second language for the first time, whether they are heritage language learners who are looking to increase their proficiency in their home language, but they may not be at the level they want, or whether you are native speakers already fluent looking to have that proficiency recognized through a credential. And the way that we hope to do this is to help start building bridges. We've heard a lot from presentations today about some of the challenges, and those challenges all seem to have a common root, and that root seems to be a lack of communication between the schools, the families, the students, the public schools, or the entities that are providing that recognition. And so my first call to action involves building bridges and working and finding ways for that collaboration to expand between our community-based heritage language schools and all the other entities that work with language education, including your public schools, and helping you understand how the students in your schools can be on that pathway to be recognized for that state seal of biliteracy, what the application process is, what information might be needed to help make sure that your students can have their proficiency recognized. We also will offer professional learning and invite you to join us whenever we share professional learning opportunities for language educators. That includes webinars, in-person opportunities, conference presentations. We invite teachers, educators, administrators, language leaders, not just from the public schools, but also from our private schools, our independent schools, and we invite you from the community-based heritage language schools to join us as well. And we also want to encourage our school divisions, our public school divisions, to include you in conversations that are taking place about division-wide testing opportunities, about opportunities to have your school work with them in partnership for activities that involve language celebration or language recognition. Now, I don't promise that all of this will be easy, because anything that happens at the state level involves bureaucracy. And bureaucracy has a lot of challenges, as you've heard from many other sources, that we have to overcome. One of the things that we help to do is to encourage conversations that will involve how to navigate those seas of bureaucracy at the state level. So one of the things that I can offer from a Virginia perspective, and then my colleagues can also have conversations with you about what that would look like in theirs, is that I am the point of contact that you can reach out to if you're having difficulty building those bridges with your local public schools. I can help make the connections. I can help find the person who is there that can help navigate that bureaucracy and start building some of those bridges. We do want to encourage you to help make sure all of your students get recognized in as many ways as possible. And this is not an either or. Not being recognized at the public school or the community-based school, but rather both and do it together. And so we'll look for opportunities for how we can make that happen. Some of the pathways that my colleagues have shared with me, and I know if Emma is still here from Washington State, I can ask you to jump in at any point if you have some that you want to share from what's going on there. Helping to collaborate and connect with language advocacy organizations. So here in Virginia, that involves an organization called FLAVA, the Foreign Language Association of Virginia. VOWELS, the Virginia Organization of World Language Supervisors. You know, we love our acronyms in education. VADLN, which is the Virginia Dual Language Educator Network. Your AATs, your American Association of Teachers of the different languages, and any other groups that are there to support both individual and collective language learning. We encourage the collaboration and for you to join those organizations so that you can have conversations with your public school and other private school and community college partners to discuss what language learning looks like in your context. Another bridge that we hope you will build, and you heard earlier from Xavier from the Embassy of France, you'll hear from some other embassies, that is another key contact and bridge that we help to facilitate, at least in Virginia, and I know in several other states at the state level. We engage in conversations to build memorandum of understanding with our colleagues in France, Spain, Taiwan, and other countries where there is a connection that wants to be made with our schools in the state, with the schools in the country where the language is spoken. We are always looking for new partners for those agreements so that we can pair our public schools with the public schools in the other countries and bring our community-based schools in to include in bilateral or trilateral conversations and partnerships. We also encourage you to build bridges and conversations with the local community college system because here is where you can get some of the most value for that dual language credit that can take place. And we'll talk about credits in just a moment. And of course, we also invite to partner with all of our ethnic community groups and your schools wherever they're located. Some of the practices that have taken place between these groups include recognizing the Seal of Biliteracy, not just for the language proficiency, but also as a high demand workforce credential. And that's an innovation that was just passed in Virginia this last legislative cycle, so that the Virginia Seal of Biliteracy has been recognized now as a high demand workforce credential. And in May, our Board of Education just added it to that list. There is some continuing work that will take place there so that as you are helping your students to earn that credential, we're also helping to make sure that it's included in pathways for career clusters. We're also working with school counselors on this challenge that several of you mentioned, and that is to have your schools recognized as the provider of instruction that helps students achieve that level of proficiency. And so I encourage you, and I will put my cards available for any of you. If you are in Virginia and you need help connecting with your public schools to see how you can be recognized, please reach out to me anytime. And my colleagues in these other state organizations are almost universally as open to hearing from you as well, so that they can help you build those bridges. We've also heard that there's inconsistent acceptance of the community-based heritage language schools evidence that is presented to school divisions. We can help with those conversations as well. So if you reach out, we can discuss what is it in the bureaucracy that's providing the obstacle, and what can we do to help overcome it. And finally, we've heard from you that there is some limited awareness of the pathways to the seal on the part of the families, and on sometimes on the part of some of the educators in the community-based schools. We can help with that as well by providing you with resources to share with the schools and the parents, and also with support and invitations to attend orientation type events where you can learn more about the Seal of Biliteracy. Going back that. So I'm going to leave you with your call to action. First, I ask you to reach out to the representative in your state who can help you with some of these bureaucratic challenges. Create those state level contacts. Make sure that your school is on the list for your state, and encourage your state to publish the list of community-based heritage language schools so that you become visible and recognized in the language learning community. Second, I encourage you to promote and to request joint celebrations with the public schools where your students attend, so that you can share in that recognition of their language proficiency. When possible, we will ask our public schools to include the name of the school where the students learned the language, so that you can also share in the recognition for their success. And finally, to collect your data and to encourage all of your students who are earning the seals to report it not just to their home school, but to both schools, and to have that recognized in both areas. So if there's anything that I or my colleagues within the Necessful group can do to be of service, we're here to help. And we could not have a better person to help bring it all together than Linda Egnatz, who's going to share what that looks like on the global scale. So thank you very much for allowing me to be here. And Masako, I will turn it back over to you to end the panel.
Thank you very much, Lisa. That was really wonderful presentation in terms of, it's a really good model of partnership between the public schools and the heritage language schools. And also it's really nice to have the key person like you, so that we know that whom, to contact first. That is most of the cases a problem, because the heritage schools, don't know whom we can contact too. So it's really lucky for the people in Virginia to have the person like you. Thank you, Lisa. And then the last person, Linda Egnatz, and Linda will just make in the closing comments. So I'll hand it over to you, Linda.
Thank you, Masako, and thank all of you online, as well as everyone here for participating in this session. So I think the big question, as the title of this slide here, which is, why do we document and certify language? And there's a number of reasons, and I'll just sort of sum up the conversations that we've had today. I'm going to introduce the Global Seal of Biliteracy, which was referenced in a couple of the different schools. I'm also want to talk about the importance of not just documenting the language skill, but how do we help the students who receive this documentation leverage it for next steps? How do they make it more powerful than just a moment of applause at a very special program? We'll talk a little bit about pathways and how you as schools can begin to develop those pathways. And kudos to what we saw in that progression with that Tamil school. You'll see that having this kind of a program in your schools does grow enrollment, it builds retention. We also heard about that at the higher level now with the Hindi program that now offers high school as well, and then what might be your next steps. So the goal ultimately is that a student should be recognized for their language skills. They're a part of their identity, they're a part of their experience, and they're a part of their language education package. And so the goal is most importantly, and we can get lost in all the weeds and we can get frustrated by some of the red tape, but you need to find a way to document the language skills that the students acquire in your programs, whether that's through a state seal of biliteracy, the global seal of biliteracy, or a test that doesn't necessarily lead to a certification, but documents what they have achieved to the point that at the point where they might leave your program, because that then can be leveraged for something more. And that's kind of what I'd like to talk about. So just as an introduction to the Global Seal of Biliteracy, if you're unfamiliar with our program, is we were really inspired by the state seal programs. But many of the state seal programs don't necessarily include everyone. And they, as has been referenced, they focus primarily on the senior at high school graduation. And there are a lot of language learners. You have middle school students, a lot of university students. There are adults, the teachers in your programs who can also benefit through language certification. And so the Global Seal is that goal, is to document language wherever it occurs, however the individual acquired their language and wherever they may be. And so you see on the right a variety of kinds of programs that use the Global Seal of Biliteracy. And we're now 67 countries around the world, and you can see them in the dark green where the Global Seal has been awarded. So these aren't just languages represented, these are actually individuals in those countries that hold a Global Seal of Biliteracy. And it is a pathway. Language acquisition is most dynamic when it's recognized as progressional growth along the way. And so if we wait till the very end, that's wonderful, but there's a lot of motivational power in recognizing students along the way. You want to give them benchmarks. You want them to know that they're on track. You want them, most importantly, to celebrate the progress they have made thus far. And so the Global Seal has taken that into account to create gamification, and it works. Because when you begin to recognize students have more understanding of what's needed in their language skills and in their development to move to the next level. And because there is a recognition and an award and an honor, and more importantly, at the end, a credential, they're excited to do that. And so we start with a pathway of ribbons that are pre-certificate level. And these are aligned on the ACTFL scale. But if you are using a test that is on the CEFR, or the Common European Framework of Reference, which is more recognized outside of the US, there are ribbons for those levels as well. And so we begin, and we've had students, actually I think 4 in total, of over 60,000, actually at the 5th grade level achieve Global Seal of Biliteracy. But typically, if we look across what happened in 2024, about 5% of our students were middle school students who received Global Seals of Biliteracy. It is possible, but again, it has to be tested to be measured to earn that credential. And so then we start with our certificate levels, and we have 3. They are stackable. We don't want the student to get to one level and feel like they finished and they won the race and they don't continue to develop their language skills, especially their academic literacy skills at the higher levels. And so we begin at functional fluency on the ACTFL scale would be intermediate mid. Then we move to the working fluency, and finally to the professional fluency. And so what we see then, and this is where it goes to sleep, is a certificate that then can be used for lots of things. So it can be used, for example, on the Common App, which many students use to apply to college, as an international honor. It is a digital certificate as well as the paper certificate. So the students can use that certificate because it has a unique serial number, and to create a digital profile they can share in any way they want, social media, through the URL code, and it provides a description of what they're able to do in the language, and it stacks. So if they've earned more than one certificate in your program, they will all appear underneath that order. it has a transcript. So increasingly, universities don't want to see just a paper certificate. They want an actual official transcript or verification. In fact, one of the universities this spring told us any kid can make a certificate on Canva. So they want something digital and verifiable. And so the Global Seal is not only portable and digital, but it is verifiable and it is stackable. So when they earn their free Global Seal, which is free to you for you as a school to award, they can have 3 free transcripts as well sent. Now, what should a student do? Whether this applies to Global Seal or to a State Seal, what should they be able to do? First of all, highlight the skills on every application they have possible. One of the pieces that has been of value for many schools that award both a State Seal and a Global Seal is that the Global Seal can be awarded earlier. Oftentimes, the State Seal is not awarded until the senior year when they earn it, or in some cases, after the student has graduated because an AP test was used, and that's given in the May of the senior year, and the scores don't come back till July. The student's already been accepted or rejected to university. And so this allows them to earn it and be awarded it earlier. But they should put it there. Then they should connect it to things like scholarships where they talk about global education or multicultural competence or leadership or communication skills. Give them the words to articulate what that language skill does for them. Then if it's a Global Seal, emphasize this was an international credential, and then help the student be specific. What was the certificate or the seal that they earned? What was the ACTFL or the CEFR level it represented? It's important if they know what test was used, because university, especially admissions officers, they might not know all of those terms, but they might know one. So the more your student knows, the better. And then think about it in terms of the economic opportunity or employability for your students. Increasingly, we see more and more employers asking for either bilingual or bilingual preferred. And what we have found is in 60% of the time, if 2 candidates were identical, the employer has said they would hire the bilingual. So that helps your students as well. And so we see this increasingly. And the Global Seal with its serial number goes right on LinkedIn under profiles. It goes under certification, licenses and certifications. And so a lot of schools are using this as a way to advertise their school. All of our teachers are bilingual certified. So think about what your pathway is. Where does your program begin? And how can you continue to not only stack the documentation, but stack the motivation at different points where students realize they've made progress and are on their way to something more. Our website offers lots of different kinds of free tools and resources. As you can see here, it's through our Pathway Awards, through the ribbons, and at the, as you think about it as a holistic sort of approach. So you want to set proficiency targets. We heard some of the schools talk about what those are. That's important because that's how the language is measured. You want to have those benchmark assessments, how much they should, where they should be at different points, and then recognize those with Pathway Awards. And finally, celebrate what you want to duplicate. With a celebration, that makes it very visible. So QR code here. I also have cards. Also, the cards have the QR code. And we're ready for questions, Masako.
Yay. Thank you, Linda. Thank you so much. The introducing and then explaining the Global Seal of Biliteracy. So we had the panelist presentations, and I would like to move to the question and answer sessions, maybe within 10 minutes. So all your questions from the floor is welcome. And just before that, I noticed there are 2 questions posted on the chat. So I'm going to just read it. The first one is, I have a basic question on how to get the Seal of Biliteracy through heritage language schools and public schools. This is the big question. And let's see, so who would be, and then another question is, can you also help for community heritage language schools in California, who is a point of contact for California. And Emma just answered this question, I believe. She just, in the chat section, she just posted that the link to the NCSSFL, that's a state member. So we can access to that the state representatives when we go to this site, right? Am I right, Emma? Would you let me know if my understanding is correct or not in the chat section? And also I'll go back to that the question like how to get the Seal of Biliteracy through heritage language schools and the public schools. So anyone could briefly explain and answer this question?
Oh, sorry. Of course you can. All right, so what we have been doing is we purchase stamp test, administer them, and send the report to the public school. So now this is a new initiative, like we have been communicating with public schools, telling them what assessment our students are taking, and in most cases, it's the same. The public schools also administer stamp test, stamp 4S test, and we do the same. So they are happily taking the report and awarding the State Seal of Biliteracy to them.
If I can just add a little bit to that. So we have 50 states who award 50 different pathways, plus Washington, D.C., plus DODEA, plus the all the places that are awarding individual seals, and every one of them has a different pathway for doing that. So again, I encourage you to reach out to the state representative in the state that you're working with for how it works in your state. And I would be happy to address for anybody how it works in Virginia, but that may not be the same path that you would use in Washington or that you would use in Nebraska. But what we can do is help connect you to the person who can help with that information.
Hold on.
Thank you very much. So any question from the floor?
So since you're speaking for state of Virginia, is it possible to have a mandate to all the schools in Virginia, which are language schools, to take the biliteracy test? And if they do accept or do they pass or come up with a certain criteria, which is a little bit more stringent, and then award that at the Seal of Biliteracy at the state level, rather than going through taking the test again at the 12th level and all that. So acceptance of that Seal of Biliteracy, global Seal of Biliteracy, will allow them to take the state seal. One test for students. It's the same test. It's a stamp test. So that's the question.
Do you understand his question? Oh, you're ready. Okay.
I just wanted to make sure you could hear. So in Virginia, as in many other states, the awarding of our seal is subject to legislation. So our seal is not just a Department of Education policy, it's legislatively mandated. And so one of the things that we have is a Seal of Biliteracy Advisory Committee, and we take any recommendations that we receive to that committee, who then forms their recommendation to give to the Board of Education, and we would take it to them. So we can't just say, yes, we will do that, but what we can do is take the suggestion to the advisory committee and say this was brought to the floor. We will get their input, and then we can give those recommendations to our Board of Education. We've actually worked really closely with the Global Seal of Biliteracy to try to make sure that we are recognizing all the students that we can in as many ways as we can. And it just makes sense to me that if they are qualified for the Global Seal, that they would be qualified for the Virginia Seal. But there's a couple of those, remember that bureaucracy that we talked about? There's a couple of bureaucratic hurdles that have to be overcome. And the first one is that The Virginia Seal of Biliteracy is a diploma seal, which means it's only awarded in conjunction with a Virginia Board of Education diploma, and they have to meet all the requirements for the Virginia diploma, not just the language requirement, which is part of what the Seal of Biliteracy and the Global Seal have. So we're happy to take that suggestion. I hope you'll take the card and reach out and share that, and I'll be happy to take it to the advisory committee.
Thank you. Just one thing to the question, like how to find this.
Sorry, Masako, he's talking.
Oh, go ahead.
So what I want to share is that bureaucracy part. We have been working with the local schools for at least 3 to 4 years, saying the same thing, that they don't have the support for the Hindi language in the school, the local school. Foreign language supervisor doesn't understand like how to train, how to provide the seal and test and all that. So we did that for many years. Finally, after 3 to 4 years, somebody pursued, and we pursued like on and emails, to the principal, to the mayor, to everybody, that it's the same test that needs to be administered at the local level, which is not even possible at the school level. Same test. And they are proficient. Students are ready to take the test, but the timing doesn't match. So there are all kinds of challenges there. So they allowed that, but at least, still the limitation is that they have to take it in 12th grade.
Okay, and after Linda answers, there's a question, someone online.
I don't know if that's me, but I have a quick question about the Global Seal of Biliteracy. I'm familiar with how the State Seal of Biliteracy work, but for the Global Seal of Biliteracy, do students still have to take like the event test or the stamp test in public schools in order for them to get the ribbons and the certificates, or is there a different process?
So I'm going to combine a follow-up to your question in that, as well as answer your question. So with the ribbon program, there is no test that's required. There is an expectation that the school will be familiar with those actual levels and is using some way of some sort of measurement or assessment to determine whether or not those schools those students have met that requirement. Many schools do use a benchmark test, but not all schools do. The Avant test was mentioned earlier. They offer an elementary version of that test that's visual. It doesn't certify for the certificate levels, but it's often used for those ribbons. So ribbons can be awarded by the school based on their measure of the student's progress. It's not yet a certificate. We only require a test when we do the actual certificate process. So they can just be ordered in the quantities that you need, 1 or 500 or whatever that might be. So that's the pathway ribbon question. The other question about an assessment is that the Heritage School can provide the assessment. They don't have to use the assessment of the school. If the student is assessed at the school, the same test can be used for both certificates. We have hundreds of schools that use both the state seal and the global seal together with one test. And they do that because they offer the different programs offer different benefits. For example, in my school, in my state of Illinois, the state seal is university college credit. Every state university has to provide college credit for their state seal. A student might want that, but not all students want to go to school in the state of Illinois. So we have pathways. The University of Texas offers 14 hours of university credit for a global seal. So that school might want to maximize the students' opportunities and provide them with one test, but 2 honors or 2 recognitions. So the global seal works similar to the state seal in that it is a workplace credential that does require an assessment. We have currently assessments that are qualifying and approved, and we cover 170 different languages. So I'm hopeful that yours is among them. So, and we continue to grow that number of languages that are offered. So again, the goal, the difference might be that we have stackable certificates that can be awarded earlier than that senior year of graduation. And so that's the piece that can help the heritage schools that oftentimes don't have high school programs. Again, the goal here of this whole panel is just to remind you, it is important to document the students' growth in your programs, their language acquisition, and to celebrate it. And there are, as you can see, a variety of ways to do that.
Okay, thank you very much, Linda, for your comment. And I still have one more question, but I'm afraid it's really time up. So I just read the questions. I hope you know this will be answered somehow. Which seal is better recognizing by the universities, global seal or state? But I just really kind of time's up, so we might somehow answer this question, okay? Or somebody can do it in 5 seconds. 5 seconds. Sorry.
I would like to say the global seal is better because that's the program I represent, but we're also an independent program. We don't have to go through the bureaucracy of getting legislation and everything approved through committees and supervisors and all sorts of people. We can say, let's see if this works and if this benefits students or recipients, and we can do that. We've tried to create something universal so we don't have the challenges of all 50 different plus state programs. However, it is important that if your student has an opportunity to earn a state seal, that they do that. We want government to know that bilingualism is important, that being bilingual is an asset, that it is important to our country, that it represents the multilingual space that we are in. And we want to know that we are there so that hopefully we can also, because another hat I wear is working with national U.S. legislation for languages, is that we can't get legislation to help support our students in school, to pay for testing, to get recognition. We can't do that without data, and we can't do that without numbers. So if your student can participate in both, what student doesn't want 2 awards instead of 1?